Hey everybody. I'm not entirely sure what to say. Um, it's been a while. Uh, it's been a long while actually, and I don't know. I would like to talk about it at some point, but I just don't know that I'm ready to talk about everything that's gone on in the last few months. I didn't forget about you guys. I didn't intentionally stop uh, posting for any specific reason. I guess that like didn't enjoy it anymore because I do still enjoy it. Wow, these sea soldiers are locked in. Um, anyways, it was not anything like I just didn't enjoy doing that anymore. Um, so I don't know. I'll probably talk about it at some point, but um, the important piece is I try and get back into it and putting myself back out there. And I wanted to start today with what I have. Um, So anyways, I'm sorry I've been gone for a while. I really have missed doing this, so I'm hoping people enjoy this again today, because I really enjoy this kind of stuff. Um, anyways, my kind of plan for the day, if you will, I was thinking about today while I was working. I was just thinking about um, the new Star Wars trailers that have come out. Um, and just that I just can't get myself to care about anything Star Wars coming out right now. Um, and it's a real issue. Like I just, I've seen it really started with the Super Bowl. Was where I first kind of, actually we'll go this way. Um, that was where I first kind of noticed that I couldn't get myself to care. The Super Bowl kind of Bud Light spoof commercial. Um, I thought it was funny and I thought it was a good commercial, but I just can't get myself to care about the source material at all. And so I kind of noticed something's up there. And then the latest Mandalorian and Grogu trailer came out, and that's when I realized I just can't get myself to care. Um, and that's really strange for me. That's not something I normally have ever been able to say. I have always had a huge Star Wars obsession. I mean, that's truly what it was, is as an obsession. Um, I was 12 years old reading Wikipedia every day. Um, I've read a lot of the Star Wars books now at this point, even the bad ones. Um, and so it's just kind of strange that I don't care anymore. Um, but I've started to kind of figure out, I think, why I feel that way. Um, and part of that is just to do with, I mean, Disney itself making poor choices. A lot of people my age and even older, just with similar interest as myself, oh, dadgummit. The kind of connection with Star Wars for us is with the Legends content. I have always been a fan of Star Wars. I'll watch anything they produce, but the kind of stuff I enjoyed the most about Star Wars is the the Legends content, the books, the comics, the that kind of stuff that's the stuff I really enjoyed as a kid. And the not even the decision to decanonize it, I think, is the issue. I think that is an issue, um, but it's not what people say it is. Like, I don't know that people know that it wasn't ever canon in the first place. It was just that George Lucas was okay with it being out there as long as it didn't conflict with something he wanted to do. And that's why a lot of the kind of prequels era stuff is actually overwritten. How? It's actually overwritten by the prequels. And a lot of people don't really know that because they haven't read those books from before we kind of learned more about the prequel era of Star Wars. And so I don't entirely have a problem with the decision to decanonize the content. However, there's a big however with that. The replacement has been a wholly inferior product, and that's where I think they've lost people. Like, for example, the kind of big thing for me is always, Luke has always been one of my favorite characters. I'm not, I don't know that I can truly explain why. I probably could if I sat and thought about it for a while. But, he's always been one of my favorites, and I really, really loved the kind of arc that he goes on in the Legends content, his journey to Jedi Master, and you know, Mara Jade. I love Mara Jade as well. And I just love a lot of the stories that come with him. I think they're, you know, they mean something to me, obviously, but I also just think they're good, and I think that it's sad. I mean, obviously, it's a little sad. Oh, jeez. It's sad to me that they got rid of that content, but I was never one of the kind of, you know, it's ruined things. Like, I was always okay with them saying we're going to do something else. And I still feel that way. Like, it's not like I think there's no chance for this stuff. But I will say, the story has been told on Luke Skywalker now. We've seen his death and... Oh god, ow. We've seen his life and his death, and by and large, his life is nothing but a failure. He lost his entire Jedi Academy, he lost his students, and essentially his life is moot, except for obviously Rey, which I don't mind. I like Rey, but his entire life's work is wasted. He, you know, his Jedi Academy failed. He is not brought back the Jedi. He's not brought balance to the Force, and that just sucks. I mean, narratively, from the story of the prequels and the original trilogy, Luke is meant to be the person that changes everything, and he doesn't, and that's what really sucks. Okay, that works. From the same perspective as well, the New Republic, a lot of people don't even, I don't feel like people even remember that the New Republic was destroyed in episode 7, like 10 minutes in. It was like an hour in. I'm being a little facetious, but sorry, I don't know what that was about. What am I doing here? Anyways, the New Republic gets destroyed in like the first hour of The Force Awakens. So everything that Leia spent her life creating is ruined in the first hour of the first movie of the prequels, and it's never put back. Like, the movies end. Episode 9, I mean, it's such a bad movie. But there's no resolution, like, they don't bring back the government. It's just they defeated the First Order. So that government is still not there. And so Luke and they're kind of like, I mean, they are the two main, meant to be the two main characters of the entire story of Star Wars. And everything they live to do is ruined. Their life's work is destroyed. Palpatine is still alive. Maybe. I mean, we watched him die in episode 6, and we're supposed to just expect he's gone for good. I don't know. And I know he came back in the comics, and I don't know. Anyways, I just find it dumb that Luke and Leia went from these heroic figures in the Legends content with fantastic stories. I mean, I don't know if you guys have actually read a lot of what happens in Star Wars after Episode 6, but the Legends content was really good. It's some of my favorite stuff in general, like not even just Star Wars, but media in general. I'm a huge fan of what goes on. I don't know what this guy's doing, but he's going to die. See that. He's gonna die. Yep. Alright. Anyways, and so it's been replaced with an inferior product from the personal standpoint. I mean, I have tried really hard to not harp on the sequels. I think there is a lot of good stuff in them. But, you know, for the people who have grown up with Luke and Leia and all of these characters that we've grown to appreciate, we went from them being, you know, the most important people in the world to they didn't do anything. And I think that's what a lot of people are having issues with, is they wasted Luke and Leia. There's nothing of value that they've added to the franchise since Episode 6. And now we just get to figure out what else there is. And I don't think anybody really cares to do that. I think the excitement for Star Wars is gone because we know how it ends. We know our favorite characters that we loved really didn't do anything. And so that's why a lot of people don't care about, you know, the Ahsoka show. They don't care about what's going on with the Mandalorian at this point. Is we all know how it ends. It's just done. And I think people are really sad about that. I think, you know, it's hard to get excited for the Mandalorian, which I loved. I really did love the Mandalorian. But I loved it when it was a serial show and it wasn't connected to the universe at large. I think I'm not against that in theory. I liked Season 2. I think that's really where a lot of the issues started coming up. But I'm not against, you know, him meeting Luke Skywalker at all. But I am against, you know, Mandalorian. Din Djarin is not supposed to be the guy fighting Thrawn. He's just the Mandalorian. And that's where we're at. I mean, there's nobody else. There's nobody of value at this point in the universe that can do anything, because we know Luke and Leia don't. And that's just a bad feeling. It just sucks that they're so shoehorned into this failure that there's nothing they can do. There's no reason for anyone to care at this point, because all of the kind of outcomes have already been decided. There's no there's just nothing good you can do when you know everything that you can do has to be undone, no matter what. It just is a sucky feeling. It's hard to, at least for me, it's hard to care about anything going on with The Mandalorian or Ahsoka or anything. Who are these characters that I like? But, you know, I know Luke and Leia aren't going to be involved. I know it's going to be undone, whatever it is, whatever they do with these characters. And it's going to be all for naught. And that's just not fun. Like, it's not good storytelling. It doesn't make for a good story at all. And that just makes me sad. Like, I've tried to, you know, give them the benefit of the doubt with Star Wars and let them cook, and, you know, here we are, and I could not care less what they were trying to do. I thought maybe, you know, just let them cook, we'll see what they come up with, and I did, and they came up with this, and it's just stinky poo-poo is all it is. It's a bunch of stuff that's not as good as what it used to be, and nobody wants that. Like, nobody has any desire to take all this stuff they loved and just have a not even a slightly worse version at this point, just a worse version. It's an inferior product, and that's where they lost their fan base. Is, you know, Star Wars is special because it has a built-in fan base already. There is very little franchise. There's very few franchises that have the kind of outreach that Star Wars does. I mean, people, it's not even like, you know, most franchises have people that are fond of the franchise, but Star Wars has a large percent of the population that is built in, that just loves the franchise and will consume it. And that's very unique, for starters. And the kind of impetus has been to make, at least from Disney's perspective, to make the least amount of people angry as possible. And so they've made a lot of these decisions that ended up ruining the franchise. I mean, I hate to say that, but I really feel like the franchise is ruined because there's nothing of value in it. There's no direction this can go that would make anybody interested in the franchise anymore, without, you know, starting over, without saying, you know, we whiffed, let us decanonize everything we've done and try again. And I don't think Disney would do that, for starters, and I don't think anybody, I don't even know that people would care at that point. I think, you know, the only thing we've learned at this point with the most important characters to people at large, which are Luke and Leia, and Han to an extent, all we've learned is that they don't do anything. They waste their whole lives building something that's destroyed, you know, in 30 years. And, you know, that's not to say in Legends that didn't happen. Obviously, you know, these things happen, but we know the end of it. We know, you know, whereas in Legends there were these crises that, you know, threatened their life's work, the Jedi Academy, the New Republic, stuff like that. But these characters, you know, were still alive as part of it. And now, oh my god, ow. Now they're not alive, and that's That's what I'm getting at ultimately, is we've seen the entire story of these characters' lives, and they did nothing. And that's why I think people don't really care, or can't care, about Star Wars anymore, is because they took these amazing, amazing people that have a built-in fan base. I mean, these people are truly not... They're like mythic heroes to people. Like, really, that's how much people care about Luke and Leia and Han. And we have nothing for it. Their lives are wasted, and we've seen the full extent, and now they can't go back. The part that really sucks the most is that Carrie Fisher's dead now, and these stories have to be over. There's no fixing this now. And that is just sad. I mean, there's just nothing they can do about it at that point. I think they could do like the Clone Wars with... Oh, I just got cut in half. Good lord. Anyways, I think they could do like the Clone Wars, but you know, you're missing... I don't know, it's just tainted now, and I think that's part of the problem, is there's no way to go back and fix the mistakes you made. And that's just something they get to live with now. Like, there's nothing they can do about that. They killed their own franchise, and they spent, you know, $4 billion acquiring it, and, oh god, they're gonna have nothing to show for it. Like, that's just where we're at, ultimately. There's nothing of value they've added to the franchise, and there's nothing of value that they can add to the franchise at this point. The work they've done has been so conducive, or conductive, to absolutely nothing. There's no... I can't wait to see where this goes. There's no... anything. It's just... there is nowhere to go with the story of Luke and Leia. They have just made the executive decision that Luke and Leia, the Skywalkers, are done. They didn't do anything. And so it's hard to care about any of these stories, so we can't really care about anything up before the sequels because we know how it ends. And that's just where we're at. And it's different than like the prequels, for example, because we do know how the prequels end, but at the same time, the kind of knowledge that we know how they end is central to the story. It's important to go back. You know, we've seen the original trilogy, we've seen the story of Darth Vader, and now the fascinating thing about the prequels is we get to learn about why Darth Vader became who he is, and how important that is to the story, that we care about Anakin Skywalker, to show how important his fall is to Darth Vader, and subsequently his redemption. And there's nothing to do with that with the sequels. Ben Solo's dead, and they've made it clear they're not interested in opening that door. I think that was something that was really probably the only thing anyone was interested in potentially in the sequel era, is okay, Ben Solo's alive, that's really interesting, let's touch base on that, and then nothing. They've decided he's not alive, there's no way to bring him back to life, it's over. And we just get to live with that. And I don't like that. I don't like that there's nothing to be excited for with Star Wars, because they're trying. But they're trying wrong. Like, I don't... The Mandalorian is set 5 years after the original trilogy, so we know how that ends, and we know, you know, even if they build up this giant, you know, the Mandalorian and Ahsoka versus Thrawn, it's inferior already. I mean, that's just, I mean, how are you going to have a character as important to the franchise as Thrawn, and at the same time, you know, the most important people can't be there. Luke and Leia and Han, they all can't be there. They can't help, or not help. They can't, you know, be a part of the story really at all, because we know they're not there. And so we just get to have nothing. And so it's just sad. I don't know. That's just, I've been thinking about it a lot lately. And it really, ow, what hit me? It's really been bothering me that, some blow up, that's good to know. I don't know, it just really bothers me that, you know, there's no Skywalkers in Star Wars anymore. Like, that's not, they're all dead. And, you know, feel how Rey Skywalker, feel about that however you feel like. But, you know, I don't like that there's not Skywalkers in Star Wars. I think, you know, it's too late to go back and, you know, rewrite these stories, because we know it all ends either way, and there's nowhere to go with that. It's weird. It's weird that at the same time, you know, a lot of these questions we had about, even as far back as when they announced the prequels, like, where do you go from here? We know how it ends. We've seen two different spectrums of it. We have these kind of, you know, we know how this ends situation with the prequels, where it actually is capable to tell that story, and where, you know, there's, while we know how it ends, there's a opportunity to tell a good story here. We go from that to the sequels, where we know doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's really where we're at. Is that there's no way, there's nothing cool, there's nothing you can add to the universe at that point, up until the sequel trilogy and the end of it. So they have to move to past the sequel trilogy, and nobody cares. Like, that was, Ben Solo was the only thing that maybe had some traction, and other than that, just nobody cares. Nobody, I mean, there's no excitement for anything past at this point. Like, there's just so much went on with the sequel trilogy, and most of it was purely writing. You know, I think they had these amazing directors, and they had this amazing visuals and this team behind them, and it all went to waste because they didn't plan the story, and they had butting heads on the story, and we ended up with Star Wars that doesn't say anything. And I think that is really where Star Wars is at its worst.
There's nothing sweeter than victory in
I don't know. I just think Star Wars is inherently telling us something. That's one of the things that brings the most value to people from Star Wars, is it has always been telling us something. You know, we look back in the original trilogy, we get a very mythologized story of the dangers of, you know, imperialism and fascism, authoritarianism, all of these philosophical and political ideals in a fantastical setting where these things are think pieces, I guess. I don't even know what the right way to talk about it is. But we go from the original trilogy's era with that to, you know, the prequel trilogy, and we see the fall of the Republic, which again is very political, but it is very philosophical, and, you know, how just a handful of bad actors can take down a nation, or, republic of systems, and they were kind of forced into a losing game because they played it all. I mean, the Jedi went from the side of good to the side of the Republic, and as the Republic is corrupted, so too are the Jedi. And that's kind of the interesting side of the Star Wars story, is it's not just, this happens and then this happens and then this happens and then this happens. There's this kind of interwoven narrative of political and philosophical introspection into Star Wars inherently baked in. That's what George Lucas did intentionally, and he talks about that. It's not like he is, looking back saying, "Oh, that's what I meant." Actually, he's been talking about it since he started making these. And we get to the sequels, and it doesn't tell us anything, Like, do you have any philosophical or political takeaways from any of the movies? The Last Jedi was the closest to saying something, and people feel about The Last Jedi however they feel. I think it was well made. I don't think it was a good Skywalker story. But I wish Rian Johnson would get another chance. I think he would make probably a fantastic Star Wars movie that wasn't The Last Jedi. But that's really the only movie that even attempted to say anything. The Force Awakens really is just a retelling of A New Hope, and there's no value in that. I mean, it's just the same story kind of recontextualized, I guess. And there was a lot of really interesting ways they could have taken it if they had planned out the narrative from the start, but they didn't. And so Rian Johnson comes in, who is a guy notoriously known for subverting expectations. And so he takes this movie that he wants to make, and naturally, he wants to subvert expectations, and that's what he does. I mean, that's what he does. He subverts a ton of expectations, and people didn't like that. They didn't like that. Luke hasn't been, this mystical. He's off on some journey thing. He was a coward. He was a hermit, and he ran from the world because they needed him and he wasn't there, and he failed. And however you feel about that, it was intentionally expectation subversion, which is something he's known for. So they should have known he was going to do that if they didn't plan this storyboard out beforehand. And then we get to the backlash to The Last Jedi, where people obviously hated it because it was not continuing the story at all, really. I mean, there was no added value to the tension of the narrative, really. I mean, there was, are Rey and Kylo into each other? What is this kind of interpersonal drama going on here? And then we get to, what is it called? The Rise of Skywalker, and that movie is stinky poo-poo. It's so bad because he wasn't even supposed to. The original script from Colin Trevorrow, who was the original director producer, actually was pretty good. I mean, not pretty good. It would have been a lot more interesting than what we got. But they fire him, they rehire J.J. Abrams to finish the narrative because they realize we didn't plan this out and we really ruined it. And so they bring back J.J. thinking he can right the ship. And he obviously can't. He has these ideas that he wanted to have and didn't get to implement. I mean, even literally going from, in the first movie, we're all like, oh, who is Rey? Who is Rey? And then Ryan wants to subvert expectations. So Rey is nobody. And then we get to Rise of Skywalker, and actually she is, related to Emperor Palpatine. Okay, what an asshole. Like, where did that come from? And it's a clone that had a family and rebelled against Palpatine and tried to escape and was killed. It's so convoluted. And Star Wars is so good at convoluted normally. Like, there's so much convoluted mess in Star Wars, but it's done right. It's not just an ass ball. It's intentionally convoluted, and that's one thing that I liked about Star Wars. And I don't know. I'm kind of just rambling at this point, but there's so much ruined. The sequel trilogy really ruined Star Wars' chances. Really, that was their big swing they had to hit, and they whiffed. And there's no way to kind of walk back from that at this point. Same kind of thing with Marvel, I think. Not to change subjects, I'll switch back to Star Wars, but I think, Marvel had a few opportunities for big swings and they whiffed too. Um, but that's really just kind of where we're at with Star Wars. I mean, people just they don't care because they had the opportunity to get the big hit and they missed. Uh, and so it doesn't matter how many little swings at this point they try to get people back. It's just done. People don't care at all. I mean, they just don't care. And that's where we're at. I mean, that's the nature of it. We just don't get to have anything to be excited for Star Wars about anymore. And Disney, I think, knows that now because nobody cares. I mean, Andor was the best thing Star Wars has made since like the original trilogy. Like, it's that good. But people aren't watching it because they just don't care. Nobody's watching The Acolyte because there's nothing. People don't care about the High Republic. They've tried, but the stories don't really matter, and so nothing really matters. And maybe we'll get the Old Republic. That could be interesting. But all they had to do was nail the Skywalker story, and they could have, literally printed money for the next 100 years. And they had a blueprint to do it. They literally could have just adapted what was already written for the sequel trilogy, and it would have been a slam dunk. I mean, people obviously have the ways they feel about it that they do, but the Yuuzhan Vong stuff, or Heir to the Empire, or anything. I mean, any of these stories that came from after, Fate of the Jedi, even. These could have been amazing, amazing stories to see adapted live, and they would have been slam dunks for Disney, literally just adapting what was already there. And they wanted to do something different for some reason that they probably had to do with money, and they don't want to say that. Decided to do this, and we got an objectively worse product. And so people don't care. The people that like Star Wars would rather just read the old stuff and remember how good it used to be. And there's no new people getting into the new stuff, really, because nobody cares about it. So we are just kind of in this position where nobody cares, and I don't think anybody's ever going to care again. And I hate that. I think Disney's going to continue to make the wrong decisions and continue to ruin this franchise that I love. And so, yeah, that's just where I'm at right now. I don't know if you guys feel the same. If you do feel the same, let me know in the comments. I'd love to have some discussions with people like this. I don't have a lot of friends that love Star Wars as much as I do, so I'd love to get a little community here. But anyways, I think Disney's ruining Star Wars, and it makes me really sad because I love Star Wars, and I have truly my entire life loved Star Wars. Anyways, that was a long kind of rant, so I'm sorry. It's been a while. It's been a little while. I'll try to be brief because this video is pretty long already. But I had some stuff go on in my life, uh, and I didn't have the capacity to keep posting like I wanted to, and I've been wanting to for about a month now, and I just haven't built up. Some of it's like even the courage to keep posting. Um, But anyways, I'm gonna try and keep posting again, or get back into a posting schedule. It's probably not gonna be every day like it used to be. For now, at least, I'd like to get back to that point. It's probably not gonna be right now. But I just wanted you guys to know I'm still here. And I appreciate the people that actually reached out to check on me. That was very nice. But I am gonna try and get back into this and keep going. And it's probably not going to be an everyday posting schedule like it has been, but I do intend to work my way back up to there because that's something I really enjoy doing. So if you guys are still here, thank you. I really do appreciate it. If you guys are still watching to this point, I do appreciate that a lot. I can get pretty intense with my Star Wars rants. I tried to keep it pretty toned down today, but I'm just really passionate about Star Wars, and so it makes me really sad to see where we're at. Um, but yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. I'm gonna try and post more like this, so if you guys aren't subscribed and you'd like to see more, please feel free to subscribe, give it a like. Um, just let me know that I can keep doing stuff like this, because I'd love to. And anyways, that's all. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.